Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Preview Pitzer Program, specifically the Community Engagement Center session. My name is Donwa Xie. I'm an admission counselor at Pitzer. I am here with Alex. Alex, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Morse. I am also an admission counselor here at Pitzer College. Happy to have you for our program this evening.
So Alex and I will be in the Q&A and in the chat to answer any questions that you may have about Pitzer's admission. But we would like to introduce our guests for today, our two members from the Community Engagement Center. Jonathan, can I pass it on to you?
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Jonathan Chan. I am the CEC program admin for research and training. At the CEC, I work as the liaison between the local community, so nonprofits, community-based organizations, and the campus community, students, staff, faculty, administrators, on connecting one another on different kinds of projects, internships, service days, overall initiatives that are reciprocal in terms of benefits for all those who work on them in terms of social responsibility and whatnot. And then right here, presenting along with me, I have my colleague, Selek. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Saleh Tikande. I am the Hacker Community Fellow at Pitzer College, and I work really closely with Jonathan here, mostly doing data tracking work for our year-end report, but also supporting students and faculty to connect as well to community partners and go through all the required and all the paperwork that goes in between the college and the community partners.
Cool. Awesome. So I am going to pass screen share over to you, Jonathan.
Awesome.
And while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to remind everyone today that you can use the chat to interact with us. But if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A box on the bottom of your Zoom screen there. That way, Jonathan and Select is able to keep track of them and answer your questions accordingly. All right, have fun, Jonathan. Take it away.
Thank you. So I'm going to share screen right there, and then I'm going to hit the present button. Okay, so we already introduced ourselves, and now we're just going to talk a bit more about the Community Engagement Center. So the Community Engagement Center has been around Pitzer for more than 20 years. We actually just celebrated our 20 years. And it all started with students, staff, faculty that were really invested in the core value of social responsibility at Pitzer. And so what social responsibility means is understanding the implications of your education as it stands, the power and privilege that comes with such an education at Pitzer, and how what you will do impacts the world personally and professionally. And there's a variety of ways to do that and get involved. Even right now, amidst the pandemic, amidst social unrest, amidst a world in need of folks who want to exact change in it, there is a lot to be done, and there's a lot that you can do. And so we're going to be going over some of the thought process about the way that the Community Engagement Center works, as well as kind of the resources and various means in which you can get involved. That being said, I'm going to pass it over to Select for this next portion of the presentation.
Right. So basically, before we start the presentation, we would like to read the Tongva Land acknowledgement because Pitzer College recognized that the campus is standing on Tongva Land or on a land that is originally owned by the Tongva people that are also the traditional caretakers of this land. So I will also add that this land acknowledgement was written by Junior Bogani, who's a Tongva elder in residence here at the Claremont Colleges. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. We, the indigenous people, the traditional caretaker of this landscape, are the direct descendant of the first people who formed our lands, our worlds during creation time. We have always been here. Our ancestors prepared and became the landscapes and world for the coming of human with other knowledge and gifts embedded in the landscape. Our ancestors imbued the responsibility and obligation to our original instructions, guided by protocols and etiquette to be part of, take care of, and ensure the welfare of the extended family and community defined in its most inclusive expression, the nature, and the pass and to pass those teachings and responsibilities onto our children, grandchildren, and many generations to come, and to all those that now live here. Next, next we have a little activity. If just in case you wanted to find out on the native land that correspond to the region in which you are standing right now, um, you contest your zip code or your city and states separated by a comma to 907 312 5085. Um, and then the board will actually respond with the name of the native lands that correspond to your region. So I see that here we have some people from um, some other countries outside of the US. So this board might not have those regions, but I know that a Coco, if quick Google search might give you the answer. So if you want to go ahead, and share those names in the chat, that would be really nice. So we're gonna give you a few seconds to do that before we continue.
And might I add, just this, activity is part of the Community Engagement Center and what we consider to be mindfulness. It's important because before we can take action and before we engage with others, we have to, sometimes do the work in terms of engaging ourselves and being mindful of, the land that we live on, its history, and kind of our own history implicated in all of it. So this is just one of the ways to think about community engagement and the ways that you may be involved and how you may learn in ways that will affect you personally and professionally, that will inform the ways that you may want to work in the future too. So definitely a good indication of like kind of the thought process that we do when we conduct community engagement work. Awesome. So if y'all want to check out the chat, take note of some of the answers that folks have posted and whatnot. Just let me know when you want to move to the next slide.
Probably gonna wait a few more seconds.
Okay.
All right, you wanna go to the next slide? Thank you, Jonathan. So we only have an hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue. But I see that we have many people here who are actually putting the answers. All right, so how will your education at Pitzer College advance social justice in the surrounding community? You really have to complete a Pitzer graduation requirement called social responsibility, and the student can satisfy the social responsibility graduation requirement by completing two courses. So one of them is social justice theory, and the second one is social responsibility praxis. The social justice theory course We emphasize diverse theoretical framework, movements and histories of social justice. For example, if you take a class on environmental justice, you will be learning about environmental justice movements, the history of environmental justice movement in the US, but you will also be learning about environmental justice issues in here in the Inland Empire and in the surrounding communities. Now, if you take the social responsibility practice course, we'll emphasize on the manifestation of social responsibility through community engagement. So you do a lot of theoretical analysis and critical reflection, and which is basically practice. So for instance, if you take a class on urban and social movements, for example, with Professor Jose Calderon, you will be learning not only the history of farm worker movement in the US, but you also have an internship component that will help you to actually to do some practice. So basically, you'll be applying a lot of theories that you'll be learning in class on your internship site. But this second one that I just talked about, which is social responsibility practice, this is where the CEC plays an instrumental role. We basically connect your class, or we connect individuals to community partners. So before school starts, your class will actually have a site or different sites, sometimes 3 to 4 sites, where students will be actually conducting the internship component, the praxis, and then you also have students who want to do some kind of community engagement internship or volunteer opportunity. So you come to see us. We have a process where you can apply, and then you go through different interviews. You take your clearances if you need some clearance to do the work that you're gonna be doing. So this is the role that we play. So basically, we focus on the praxis part of your community engagement and your social responsibility graduation requirement. Next. So in order to understand systemic change, we need to also understand the difference between charity and social justice. So even though both are very important and they actually complement each other, um, we we look at charity. Charity is something that's based on like immediate action. So obviously during the pandemic, Pitzer has been involved in like so many charity-based initiatives, including the mask donations, food donations, to different organizations and different communities around here. In addition, we also approach issues from a social justice lens. So we don't just do charity, but we focus a lot on the social justice part of things. And here we look at social justice as a framework that is centered on community-driven initiatives. So, for example, the different initiatives that you will be working on would not be something that would be like will be attached to some kind of savior behavior. So we also focus on reciprocity. So you will be learning from those communities as well, and those communities will be learning from you. You will not be going there to actually uh, go there as an expert and teaching them about things that you are learning in class, because they will be, even though they don't have technical knowledge, they actually have knowledge about their own communities. We also focus on empowerment. So we want to empower you to to follow up and dedicate your life to this type of work. Um, Popular education and funds of knowledge. So basically, funds of knowledge will be the knowledge that the community has that you can tap into to get more knowledge, instead of just being focusing on theory and class, type of knowledge. Next. All right. Next, I think. Um, Jonathan.
I think you may have skipped the praxis one.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So, do you want to talk about praxis? Let me talk about praxis. Let me talk about praxis. So, what is praxis? Um, praxis emerged from the work of Paulo Freire, who's an author, who's the author of the Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and he's also considered as the father of pedagogy. So he suggests that we cannot learn theory without actually engaging into action. Um, so he suggests that we have to actually engage into action, but it's also very important to be reflective of what happens of the result of our actions. So practice is essentially um, the circle of learning, acting, and reflecting, and is also basically we can say it's also like a political version of a scientific method. So basically, you have a theory, you verify it by putting it into action, and then you analyze your result, and then you reformulate again, and you plan into action, and then you go back into action again. Um, yeah, so that's what practice is about. So we focus on like that, and this is actually connected to the notion of charity and social justice that I was talking about earlier. So if you focus on social justice, then you have to use praxis when you are doing work with community partners and community members. Can you go to the community partner cluster? All right. So basically, before the COVID-19, we had five main clusters, right? We to make it easy for not only our community partners but also our students to kind of figure out, okay, which area am I interested in? What kind of what kind of work I want to do. So we kind of realized that okay, there was some kind of trend between our the areas of involvement that our community partners were using, and also what our students were interested in. So basically, we had five main categories. So the first one is incarceration, reentry, and recidivism. That cluster embodies community partners and community-based initiatives, like prototypes, for example, which is a women's center that works with women and their families who are dealing with complex problems, such as addiction, mental health, domestic violence, and other trauma. The second one is health and environment. So in this cluster, we work with organizations that address food justice issues in the Inland Empire. We work very closely with Huerta del Valle. They grow local organic food, but they also have a training institute for students who want to become farmer, and to also give more training and more skills to local farmers. Um, the third one is immigration and labor. So we work with organizations like the Day Labor Center, for example, where they have day laborers. We have students going there doing programming, like literacy programming, for example, teaching them how to read and write, teaching them computer skills, and things like that. And then we have education and mentorship and mentoring. So this one has become like the demand has become so high during COVID because a lot of the parents into this community are actually essential workers. So they were spending a lot of time working, and then the children were home, so they needed some complementary education programs to help out with homework and things like that. So we currently have more than 150 students involved in mentorship and tutoring programs in this community right here. But we also have some clubs on campus, for example, Tutor for Cause, which is a club that actually help staff members' children with homework as well. So the last one is art and culture. This one focuses on initiative that you know preserve arts and culture around here. So we have programs, prototypes as well. Teaching murals, for example, the women how to draw and things like that, and yoga classes, music classes, um, whatnot. Next. All right, next I'm gonna let Jonathan talk about Pitzer Now, which is like where we shifted everything from uh, you know pre-COVID to post-COVID, and how we actually matched our new a way of involvement to the new community needs that emerged during COVID.
Awesome. Thanks, Select.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Pitzer Now. And so what Pitzer Now right now is, the status of Pitzer, and it's been put out and it's been talked about as, Pitzer in regards to how is it adapting to COVID-19 amidst, in this sense of a pandemic where we're not entirely sure about, what's the future of where we see ourselves at the university in terms of like how soon we'll come back to campus, even though we're working on that diligently. How soon are we, working on like getting students on site to work with partners? But, there's a lot of movement in regards to that with Pitzer Now, and to assure folks who are going to be students, who are going to be staff, who are going to be faculty, that there's plenty of ways to still be involved. And there has never been a more important time that our core values of intercultural understanding, social responsibility, student engagement matter. There's never been a bigger time for us to live out these core values that we have at the institution. And it plays out in many different ways, and there's many different kinds of forms of engagement that you may take a part in. And just for you to know that that piece of education, as Select was talking about, that praxis piece, you exacting your education into ways that are applicable out into the world and have real world impacts are definitely doable. And we are seeing it right now with our current students who are working on some amazing projects with community partners that work from a range of things, such as like working with, incarcerated folks who are in inside out courses and are taking some classes with our students, even from a distance. Or possibly even working on some, and this is one such professor that I've worked with today, who is working on getting information out about the pandemic to various COVID impacted individuals, such as those who are of an older age, letting them know how they may make a mask if they can't afford to buy a mask themselves. For those who are, have a pre-existing condition, how they may exercise and stay healthy in case they get COVID. And so these kinds of informations and ways that projects that are moving out into the community are extremely impactful and extremely helpful to not just the way that we think about education, but like I said before, impacting the world. And so what has changed and why does it matter? So what does Pitzer Now look like, especially in consideration of community engagement? So there right now, Pitzer, and this is more than just the CEC, there's tons of opportunities to be informed and educated. So whether it's your faculty members, whether it's the staff that are hosting workshops and webinars, whether it's other students collectively building community-driven initiatives to make sure that students, have funding for certain things that they need, making sure that students are being heard amongst a variety of other voices and are being accounted for if they need specific help in terms of like where they're living or food insecurity. There's opportunities to be informed and educated. There's a lot of stuff that exists on the Pitzer general calendar, things to plug into. And I imagine whatever the case may be for next year, it's still going to be rigorous and there's still going to be plenty of ways to plug in. So there's a variety of trainings that are pushed forward by us, how to think about community engagement from a perspective of equity, from a perspective of anti-oppression, all these different kinds of things. But there's a variety of different other subjects and matters that are being touched upon that relate to the pandemic as well as not relate to the pandemic specifically, but are available through the various channels that all of us at Pitzer are working on. So plenty of ways to be informed and educated. And also along with that, there's remote engagement opportunities in a critical time, as we were talking about before, some of those initiatives, service days, projects, ways that you can get involved with your class. There's lots of different kinds of things that you may get involved with, whether it's civic engagement, whether it's community organizing, education and mentoring. We'll talk about that a bit more later on. And these involvements span numerous ways to support civic engagement, social movements, etc. So these things, and Pitzer is very good at this because, another one of our thought processes when it comes to curriculum, when it comes to education, even co-curriculum, is what is interdisciplinary? What's preparing you for a world that's not just one thing, but really melded in a way that we need to think about how our skills transferable from not only one class to another, but how are skills transferable from curriculum to the profession that you may have. So these involvements that we're talking about in terms of civic engagement, one such scenario would be one of our student workers is actually working on graphics and graphic design to help spread the word about voting rights, help spread the word about information for voters, reimbursements that voters can get through our office for voting travel, that they may incur, voting expenses that they may incur. And then there's other things like social movements and ways to get involved with that. There's newsletters and whatnot that some of the students are putting out, pamphlets, getting people involved with other community members that are working on grassroots level organizing to get, renters' rights and coalitions of landlords and renters working together to protect one another in certain communities. So there's plenty of that work, and it's all really engaging and all really impactful. And so volunteer work also spans many different avenues, clubs, faculty projects, etc. So if you have any questions about ways you can get involved, whether you want to get plugged in, whether you want to create something, or whether you just want to ask us, just get in contact with us. We'll have our contact information later down the road in another slide at the end. But yeah, just ask us. We're here as a Community Engagement Center to hear what you have to say, to know the ways in which you're passionate about this kind of work and or passionate about other things that may relate to being involved in community and doing social responsibility work. So as Select was saying, there's a difference now. There's pillars of engagement, right? And so what our pillars of engagement are a replacement for what were the 5 clusters. And so the 5 clusters that Select previously explained were things that students can get involved in categorically. And so now what we've done is that we have actually, during this time of COVID and probably into the future of how we envision engagement, we are focused more on pillars of engagement based upon the information that we've gathered from community partners about what is the most pressing need, what is the most immediate need, and social movements within communities that are asking for certain things. And so some of these ways that we're asking students or providing students to plug in through their classes, clubs, and whatnot exist in these pillars. And so they're not actually 5 main ways. Sorry, one of the pillars was actually taken on it's on a leave of absence, so to speak, but it may come back. But that pillar is specifically research and grant writing, but we'll come back to that another time if you have interest in that. It may come back later. But the 4 main ones are actually tutoring and mentoring in college access. So right now from a distance, what you can be doing is getting involved with young folks, youth in the area of Pomona, Ontario and whatnot, who have education challenges presented to them in terms of like the public facilities that allow them to have, tutoring access, that allow them to have internet access, a variety of different kinds of challenges and hindrances that happen for them. There is all those different kinds of things that are important to note. Sorry, there was an update on my thing. All those different kinds of things to note. I apologize about that.
It's the one before. It's the one before that.
Yeah.
I can share my screen if you want. Different
kinds of things to note. And how are students getting plugged in terms of college access, tutoring, mentoring, ways that you can get involved, like we were saying before. You can become a tutor, you can become a mentor through college access, helping young students know how to apply for college, some of the things that you need to know when you write to colleges for your personal statements and whatnot. And then another way that you can plug in is social media and communication, which is another pillar. And what this pillar is specifically is building, as we were talking about before, infographics, communications for different organizations, getting the word out about social movements and ways that students can get involved, whether it's getting people knowledgeable about, why getting the flu shot during this time is extremely beneficial for the community around you. Why is it important to vote as early as possible? And if you need to vote through an official drop-off ballot. So those kinds of things, they're being pushed forward by various social media communications, and you can get involved with that too. Civic engagement as a pillar, what it is specifically is how students are being informed and how their local communities are being formed of how certain propositions, how voting a certain way, how getting involved in certain measures that dictate public servants in the government are affecting us, and the ways that we need to get informed and pass along that information to other folks, right? And lastly, community organizing and direct action. What that deals with directly is more on the ground kinds of ways that folks are gathering together, or even actually virtually, to put forward petitions, phone banking measures, to really counteract harmful systems of oppression that perpetuate things such as police brutality, as well as unfair legislation that puts communities at risk in harm's way. So there's various ways that you can get involved in this pillar too. And so what does remote community engagement look like, right? Oops, sorry. Sorry, there's something wrong with my computer right now. Let me see.
I'm sharing now, so.
Oh, you're sharing?
Yeah, because you stopped sharing at some point. So.
Oh, okay, got it. Actually, yeah, can you make it big again? Okay, there we go. So what does remote community engagement look like? Being patient, adaptable to working with partners that are serving populations heavily impacted by the pandemic, social unrest, and incoming elections. So when we talk about this, it's important to note that remote community engagement is important in the sense of you all being sensitive to what's in front of you. And sometimes what's in front of you isn't necessarily a narrative that you can explain easily. It isn't necessarily something you can fully comprehend, but we are here to support in what ways we can. So whether folks are dealing with, internet connectivity issues, whether they're dealing with, personal family issues when it comes to health because of the pandemic, we ask that the students that we work with keep that in mind. And, it's framing, it's all about in what ways are we really acting and working equitably and with social responsibility in mind as we're working in this very critical time that we know that, social responsibility work is extremely important. And so how else it looks like is a remote community engagement looks like working from a laptop, utilizing software such as Outlook, Skype, Zoom, Google Drive, etc. So these different kinds of things are important because, there are ways in which you can still have connectivity with a large majority of folks out there. But also if you have troubles connecting, the Dean of Students office has a loan program that allows you to have device access, and our IT team is helpful with the technology support that they provide for others. Right? And so the community partners that you work with may not have the same technology support and resources that you do. So they're also working on great constraints with limited resources, and we should be cognizant of those kinds of challenges. And so lastly, the CEC supports local initiatives mostly within East LA County and the Inland Empire region. If already connected to another partner outside of this range and seek support, reach out to the CEC. So like we were talking about before, if you need any feedback on particular projects, if you need any support in any kind of way for like figuring out how your passions may coincide with your career, or ways that you can search for classes, that would help you develop some of those skills and some of that knowledge for ways that you want to be involved with community, just let us know. Next. So resources for students. So there's a variety of resources for students that our office provides, and one such thing is office hours. So as we were talking about before, if you need feedback on anything, if you need ways to talk to us, just even talk about maybe some of your frustrations on site, or like ways that you're struggling to complete a project, or ways that you need to rethink about a project, possibly reframe. We're there for folks right now. Our office hours are from 9 to 11 a.m. And they service students in a variety of ways, whether they're international students or whether they're domestic students. There's ways that they can ask us about different involvements and things like that. And other resources for students include training and learning opportunities. Every semester we have a CEC ethics and orientation training. Like we were talking about before, we have different workshops, webinars, and things like that about to get civically involved and civically engaged. We also have student job positions and volunteer opportunities. We have such students that help us work on a variety of different projects. And so whether that's media campaigns, whether that's voter guides, it's really awesome to be able to see students that we have as civic engagement assistants as well as direct action assistants. So look out for some of those things as a Pitzer College student, because there's plenty of ways to get involved. And there's also other volunteer opportunities that may not necessarily be paid, but that you get to work directly with community partners that could really use the help and or also provide a great wealth of knowledge to you as community educators. And there's also fellowships and awards. So such fellowships exist in the case of Select. So Select, for instance, is a Community Hecker Fellow or Hecker Community Fellow. And what Select's position is a post-grad position in which after you graduate from Pitzer, you can apply for this position where you work with us at the CEC to learn more about community engagement, learn more about just the overall work that it takes and frameworks and education pieces that are useful in social responsibility work. And then there's a variety of other awards that exist, whether they're awards based upon project grants for you to do. So like such is the case for one such grant where it's called Debating for Democracy, where students send in letters to elected officials asking for certain kinds of projects to be made and certain kinds of measures to be done. And if you win that certain award, you actually get money to exact that project. And it's actually a project that's really awesome that you get to implement on your campus. And then lastly, we have reimbursements for clearance paperwork, i.e. live scans. So if you work with particular partners, we know that the costs you can incur when working to get certain kinds of clearances. So if you work with youth, if you work with incarcerated folks, there's things that you need to do to get past those kinds of obstacles to work with people. And we can provide those reimbursements because we know that some of those things are extremely costly. Next. And so ultimately, we know that, community engagement as a part of Pitzer College is extremely important to all of us. So it really allows you to apply those critical skills that you learn on campus and you learn in the classroom. So as a result of this work, students will develop an understanding of social responsibility and ethical implications of knowledge and action. So those are graduation requirements. There are also ways that you can get involved beyond those graduation requirements. You can stay in touch with those partners that you work with from those classes, that you work with from those volunteer opportunities, and they can become mentors. They can become community educators that are invested in your growth. Also, community-based problem-solving skills are extremely helpful if you ever plan to work in a team, and or most people usually work in a team. It's important that community-based problem-solving skills are not only helpful for communities that necessarily need assistance or are in need, but they're really just helpful for how you may work in the future workplace too. Intercultural understanding, yet another core value of Pitzer College. This is important because intercultural understanding is one such thing that just helps us understand, the global world that we live in right now, and especially considering how we can tap into various communities across the globe. It's something that you may be, in fact, exposed to, especially with such an awesome international program that we have here at Pitzer. Critical thinking applied in real-world settings, that's self-explanatory. If on-site virtually and or in person, depending on how things change in the future. There's ways that you're going to be involved with folks that require, different levels of communication, whether that's you attending cultural events and different kinds of meetings and whatnot. And ultimately, this gives you a toolkit for working toward achieving thoughtful social change with rather than for communities. So we want to learn how do we work collaboratively with others, not necessarily for them, providing solutions and prescribing solutions, but working with people. Next. So the personal benefits of community engagement work, according to research from the CACC and AAC&U, strongly correlated with increased self-confidence and efficacy, especially after building skills and knowledge. And to some folks, this may make sense, but when you get those experiences that are really formative, when you get to work in community gardens, when you get to work with people that are really invested in their communities and are charged by their passions for who they work with, why they work with, and for the causes that are near and dear to their hearts. We know that some of these things are going to be ways that you can increase your self-confidence because it informs you of what you care about and ways that those things relate, even if it doesn't relate specifically to that social issue. There's more connectivity with campus community. A lot of our students now that come to Pitzer are very involved and very, passionate, very caring, and very intentional with what they do on campus. And it's extremely notable and it's extremely commendable. And so to connect with those students is a really awesome benefit. Understanding of purpose and direction, personally and professionally, we talked about a bit about that already. Community engagement work helps you with that purpose and direction for where you want to see yourself as, a future professional and just your personal life in general. And ultimately, this helps you to persist toward a degree and matriculate within 4 years. When you actually get to use, your knowledge in the classroom and see how it's useful for folks in other ways than beyond what you could have imagined. It's really awesome, and it's really a great way to see students use all the useful information that they get through their professors and through different activities that exist on campus. Next. And so we also want to pay attention to career and graduate school pathways. Experiential learning is crucial to this process. Community engagement helps with students deciding majors and career paths. Students also apply their academic studies and hands-on experience to their life and work. Learning is guided by CEC staff, community partners, and educators and professors. And so whether you decide to go into career directly afterwards, graduate school afterwards, there's plenty of folks on campus and in the community that are invested in your growth as well when you work in social responsibility ways and with equity in mind. Next. And so this is our contact information. If you haven't already, and if it hasn't been answered already, questions and whatnot that you may have, please reach us at our email, which is cec_staff@pitzer.edu, our website, which is pitzer.edu/cec, our Instagram, the handle is Pitzer CEC. So if you want to follow us, please give us a follow, learn more about what we're doing, how we're involved in the community, and our facebook.com/CECPZ. And actually what Select is going to do is he's going to put something in the chat that's what that picture of is the Pitzer College participant, which is the semester-based magazine that talks about various stories, and that one specific issue pertains to the 20 years of community engagement that Pitzer College has done through the CEC and other means, as well as possibly giving you all, if it's within his means, sorry, I maybe should have asked this beforehand, but to put that link for the student loaner program for loans of devices and whatnot, just so you all know that. Or if you want to search it up on your own, that's available to check out how the Dean of Students actually has loan device programs available for students that have problems accessing certain technology and whatnot.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We have a few questions. The first one is from Nathan. Would the CEC be actively promoting partnership and clubs from incoming students? The short answer is yes. The long answer is so at the beginning of the semester, you are going to be getting info sessions and different um, uh, training sessions from the CEC. So during those sessions, you're gonna have all the different internship opportunities that we have. The second one will be if you are taking a class that's an XRX, which is a social responsibility practice course. You are those classes have a specific partnership already, so you're gonna have those opportunities through your professor, depending on the project that you are working on. The third one is if you go on our website, we do have a student resource page where we have an application where you can actually go and look at the different opportunities that we have. You can either apply to be a student worker here at the CEC, or you can apply to be working with one of our partners if we have an internship available at that time. So basically, before COVID, obviously, you can work directly with the partners, have an internship, even sometimes get paid for it. And sometimes you can have volunteer opportunities, for example, doing different things depending on your interest. Jonathan, do you want to add something before I
Yeah,
continue?
there's a variety of different opportunities too that are provided by the Office of Student Affairs. And so they have different ways that you can get involved with like clubs that exist. There's club fairs and things that you can attend. And a lot of those club fairs and a lot of those people involved in clubs are actually also involved in community engagement.
All right. The second question is from Ensley. Um, Ensley said, I organize in a fairly small community. Do you find that pizza students are able to find opportunities and make a difference in such a big metropolitan area? Is it difficult to find a voice in local decision making? So actually, there are so many opportunities in this community. The Inland Empire is well known for, it's like a hub of like community organizers, and Pomona you know is that type of city as well. When we have a lot of nonprofits and community organization working on different issues. Do you find? Hold on, let me see. Is it fairly small community? So this is not a small community. This is a big community. We have a big community around here. LA is huge. It is like what, more than 20 million people. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. Um, if students are able to find an opportunity, yes, we do have so many partners, and those fluctuates, right, every semester depending on what's going on with the different partners. So this semester we found that a lot of our partners had to drop, for example, if they are doing education and mentorship, for example, some partners just couldn't figure out how to go and do that online. We either had to help them to do it, or maybe they just don't have funding anymore, or some of them actually work directly with the school district where they got connected really quick, so they were able to to transition, like into the post-COVID or the COVID situation. So yes, they are, we are readjusting. It's not this type of work we are doing. We are tailoring our work based on the needs of the community. So we don't go into a community and say, "Oh, this is what we want to do now. Let's do it right now." So we actually go to the community. We have different meetings with different partners, and really trying to figure out what they are working on and what kind of help they need and how they want to get help, and this is how it works. As far as finding your voice into the decision making, it's basically try to get involved. Like right now we are always into different city council meetings. We are into the meetings with the school districts, so we know exactly what's going on. They know us, they know Jonathan, they know me. We are there all the time, every week. So when things come up, they send us emails, and then we have to go through. Okay, this is a remote opportunity, right? So students can get involved. This is not. We can't, encourage students to go and do stuff physically, because of what's going on. So yes, there are so many opportunities. You just have to be involved. Read our emails from the CEC, read our new newsletters. So this is how you get involved, and this is how you find your voice into decision making. Jonathan, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you answered that beautifully. Yeah, there's many ways to get involved, and especially considering the ways that the pandemic has made it more interconnected through the internet and through digital means. There's plenty of ways to get involved, and we know that it's expansive, and even the more specific kinds of nuances of working with certain communities, we're here to help with that, and we're also here to help you get connected in the ways that you're passionate about. And so whether we have the specific connection to it or not, or whether we can help you search for those kinds of things that you want to be involved, we're here to hear you out, and we're also here to support you in that way.
All right. The next question is from Yashna. Is there a list of the CEC service activities available on the web? So yes, this semester we had a page where we had our different volunteer opportunities. You can read the different opportunities that we have, or even internship opportunities if there are internships, and then volunteership opportunities if there are volunteer opportunities, where you can read them, and then we have an application process where you can fill out your application, put your name, write about your experiences, and write about your skills that you want, learn about what you are hoping to learn from this as well, because again here applying reciprocity. So then from there, we reach out to you, we have a preliminary interview, then if you find a site, you have an interview with the partner as well before you start. So this is how we do it. Jonathan, can you please drop the link of the student resource page on the chat so they can look at it as well? So yeah, so next year this might change, depending on your next semester, depending on the situation. So if everything is online, this is our process basically. If you are not taking a practice course and you want to you want to volunteer, or you want to have an internship, uh, that's how it happens. But also again, I'm repeating myself here, just again looking out to different emails and different opportunities that's coming up throughout the semester, because things happens, and then initiative starts in the middle of the semester. The community does not work as like a semester based, right? They live every day. There's no like starting and end. So things come up, in the middle of the semester, and we make sure that students know about it as well. So we don't always post everything. Sometimes it's just an email to the community.
Yeah, if you all want to check out the chat, I've actually posted, the loan program. So if you become a student, or if you, need a student loan for a device, just to let you know that our school is thinking about, our institution is thinking about that, ways that you need a device and that you can be involved even from a distance. We're in support of that way. And then we also posted a link about the 20 years of bringing impact people together in terms of community engagement at the CEC, as well as Pitzer in general. And then also lastly, Select asked me to put that link down there in accordance with community engagement center student resources and whatnot.
Right. The next question is from Veronica, and Veronica's asking if there's any service activity that you want to do that does not exist yet. Can you set something up to do that activity through Pitzer? The short question again here is yes. So this is what we want. This is why you come to Pitzer, to get creative and come up with different ideas. But again here, the thing is to have a request. You request to have a meeting with me or Jonathan or with everyone in the office to talk about like what you have in mind, what you want to do. The reason why we do that is because we don't want you to reinvent the wheel, right? So if you want to do something that's already happening on campus, we can either connect you to the people doing it so you can add your idea to it, or if you have something completely new, we can actually help you to create your club and make it a practice club. So we have student clubs that we work with every year. We can help you get funding. We can help you get connected to different partners so you can actually do your programming with partners. So we do have students who have, created different things here. It can be a one event, or it can just be like a club that has activities happening, on a weekly basis.
Yep.
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah. And I also think that, when it comes to community engagement, we also, just want to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes what we hope to bring to the table also isn't necessarily what the community needs, but for us to be flexible in that manner of how we communicate with others. And in that sense, that's why we're also here to help be, kind of that bridge and helping you figure out what makes sense in terms of community engagement activities and connections and whatnot. So we're all here for those kinds of questions and those kinds of inquiries too.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan and Select, for joining us today and introducing the Community Engagement Center to our students. I think the CEC is a really integral part of our campus culture, and a lot of our students are involved in CEC, and so we're happy to be able to showcase the CEC to our prospective students. For our students that are still with us, thank you so much for joining us today. If you are interested in more of our Preview Pitzer programming, we have a student panel coming up where you will meet current students. That is on November 7th. And then we also have a financial aid webinar coming up as well. So click on that first link that I dropped in the chat, and that will take you to all those resources. If you have any questions while you're working on your early decision 1 deadline, I know it's coming up, or your early decision 2 or regular decision deadlines, any questions about your application or the CEC or any other Pitzer resources, you can always chat with us in our virtual admission lobby. Those are offered twice a day, Monday to Friday. And then you can also look for your admission counselor and email us at admission@pitzer.edu. Jonathan, do you mind putting your the CEC email in the chat box again so students have access to that? If you are interested in emailing and talking to a current Pitzer student, you can also email pzpenpal@pitzer.edu. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Pitzer Admission.
Right there. I just posted it in the chat again.
All right, great. Thank you, Jonathan.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Once again, Jonathan and Select. Hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you all. Hope you all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.